Let me tell you about the most disorienting kind of suffering I know. It doesn't come from tragedy. It comes from success. Her name for our purposes is Karen. She made partner at her law firm at 39. It had been the goal for 17 years, the organizing principle of her whole professional identity, the measure of her adequacy. She had deferred pleasure, neglected relationships, forfeited leisure, all to get there. The celebration dinner was beautiful. Her family was proud. She gave a gracious speech, and at 11 o'clock that night, sitting alone in her kitchen after everyone had gone home, she felt precisely nothing. Not relief, not joy, not even the neutral satisfaction of completion. Nothing. She called me the next morning and said 4 words. "I think I'm broken." She was not broken. She had spent 17 years pursuing someone else's definition of arrival and discovered, on arrival, that she had never once been consulted about the destination. That's the meaning gap. And this 4th dimension exists to measure it precisely and to show you the way out. This is meaning and purpose. And to define it, I have to give you a distinction most people have never separated in their own minds, because it changes everything. There are 2 different things here, not one. The research is built on this split. The first is meaning presence. That's the degree to which your life currently feels meaningful, actually, in the present texture of your days. High presence means that when you wake up, the work and the relationships that fill your day feel, in some real sense, like yours. Like they connect to who you actually are. The second is meaning search. That's the degree to which you're actively looking for meaning, how much energy you're spending hunting for the something you sense should be there but isn't. And here's the finding that unlocks the whole dimension. The most predictive suffering profile in all of the meaning research is not low presence by itself. It's high search combined with low presence. Sit with that. The person suffering most isn't the one who's given up. It's the one urgently, actively hunting for meaning in achievement, in the next promotion, in the next relationship, the next acquisition, while experiencing almost none of it in their actual daily life. That was Karen, searching hard for 17 years, standing in the exact place where meaning was supposed to live, unable to recognize it because she'd been told it should look like partner. That's the meaning drought at its most acute, and it's extraordinarily common among high-functioning, successful people in the middle of their lives. The daily assessment tracks 3 things: meaning presence, purpose search, and life direction. Your sense of whether you know where you're going and why. Now, I want to be precise about where borrowed purpose comes from, because Karen didn't choose the wrong life on purpose. Nobody does. Borrowed purpose is purpose that was assigned to you before you were old enough to author your own. It's the career path that made your family proud, that you entered without ever fully choosing. It's the definition of a life well lived that was just in the air where you grew up, absorbed so early, so completely, that it feels like your own conviction. And here's the cruel part. Borrowed purpose can sustain you for a surprisingly long time, because pursuing it earns approval. And approval is one of the most powerful motivators a human being has. As long as the validation keeps coming, as long as people are admiring your trajectory, holding you up as a model, the emptiness at the center stays masked by the busyness of the pursuit. You're too engaged in the performance to feel what you're not feeling. But borrowed purpose has a structural flaw, and it always shows up at the same moment, the moment of achievement. The goal is reached. The approval arrives. And in the silence that follows, the first unmanaged moment after the achievement is complete, the emptiness that was always there can no longer be masked by the chase. That's the 11 o'clock kitchen. That's the meaning gap announcing itself. Not because the goal was unworthy, but because it was never authored from your own knowing. So how do you know when you have it? Here's the recognition, and it's specific. You know this dimension is shifting when your presence starts to rise, when more of your ordinary day starts to feel like it matters. Not in theory, in the actual living of it. And here's the real signal, the one to watch for. Your search changes quality. It doesn't necessarily disappear. You may always be someone who explores, who reaches, but it transforms from anxious seeking into engaged, purposeful exploration. The frantic hunt becomes a curious walk. Same movement, completely different feeling. That shift from search that feels like lack to search that feels like aliveness is one of the most telling patterns in the entire assessment. You have it when meaning stops depending on the next achievement. Because here's the durability finding, and it matters enormously, meaning built from your own authentic values holds under pressure. Meaning borrowed from external achievement or other people's approval does not. Borrowed meaning collapses the moment the applause stops. Karen's applause was still ringing when hers collapsed. Your own meaning holds through difficulty, through uncertainty, even through genuine loss. People with high presence tolerate hard things far better. Not because they suffer less, because they're anchored in something that doesn't wash away. Now here's the most important thing I can tell you about this dimension. Meaning is not found, it's grown. And it grows from exactly one source. Your own genuine knowing about what actually matters to you, expressed in action that lines up with that knowing. That's why you can't achieve your way out of the meaning gap. Karen had aimed real capacity, real intelligence, real discipline at someone else's target. The fix isn't a bigger achievement. It's a truer one that comes from you. And you can watch this grow. As your practice deepens, presence rises. Not overnight, not dramatically, but consistently, the way real growth always happens. One honest day at a time. And the number shows you it's happening, even on the days you can't feel it. But first, you have to see the two scores separately, your presence and your search, because the gap between them is the whole diagnosis. Guessing won't show it to you. The assessment will. Take the free assessment at consciousnesstrack.app/quiz. 5 minutes, no email required, completely free. It maps exactly where you are across all 5 dimensions of your inner life, including the 2 hidden numbers inside this one. I'm Candace. I'll see you in the next one.